Great. So I think we've had a really good introduction to collaboration, lots of different examples to set the scene. I'm going to now take our first question from the floor, and I'm going to ask Burkhard Musselman from Stantec, if you wouldn't mind giving the panel your question, please.
Thank you. I attended 2 weeks ago investment forum, Qatari UK investment forum, and there was, you just mentioned, a very much a talk about private-public partnership, and they want to introduce it in Qatar. We also heard it that they want to introduce it in KSA and in Oman, also Deodora in Oman. So my question is twofold. One is how can we collaborate from the UK to exploit this opportunity in the Middle East? And the other question is, in Wales, they just announced, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, their version of PFI, the IMI financial modeling model to procure their healthcare facilities. And in Scotland, the NPD, to rethink the NPD model to apply it to, again, use a private-public partnership model to procure their infrastructure. So my question is, do you think that the PFI, with all its difficulties, is on the way back in the UK to finance healthcare projects?
Okay, thank you, Frank. Thank you very much. So, Kate, maybe you can give us some thoughts on that.
I would be delighted to. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Bernhard. I think that there are 2 points really to this question. One, how can UK companies collaborate to exploit opportunities outside the UK? And I think you're right. The Qatar UK Business and Investment Forum last week was very strong on public-private partnerships. And actually we're seeing a lot of these models through the GCC, falling oil price and indeed kind of, growing demand for healthcare. Saudi is going to be a huge market for this. My personal view is that the UK is going to have to start collaborating and creating consortia with other entities taken across the world. And at Pinson Masons, we've been talking to a number of clients, and Rich and I have been discussing this, about how we can help facilitate introductions to UK-based companies and construction contractors, for example, from Turkey, which has a huge PPP hospital program going on at the moment. I think the Turks would probably be rather well received in the Gulf. And actually how we can help facilitate and kind of create consortia to explore opportunities. If you wait for these opportunities to come to market and try and form a consortium at that stage, I think you're probably a little bit late. If you're going to try and form a consortium with people you don't already know that maybe reside in a different jurisdiction to which you are based, that is going to require collaboration on a scale that we didn't really see in the UK PPP market. So I think it's a huge opportunity for companies to really create internationally leading consortia. And from Pinson Mason's perspective and Mott's as well, because we look across the global healthcare market from all angles, I think that we're really well placed to help our clients and contacts form those consortia. So when we hosted an event not dissimilar to this in Dubai Arab Health, a number of our Turkish clients were there, and I can tell you that they're very interested because exactly as has been mentioned, brand UK in healthcare is so strong. But if you were able to team that with someone, I'm not saying that the Brits can't build, because of course they can. I'm not saying that in any respect. But if you're looking at kind of some of the latest models, the Turkish PPP model is very popular. Would you be well placed to kind of look to explore some of those options? And now's probably quite a good time to look at that.
Okay, thank you. So certainly PPP opportunity, not just in Qatar, but Saudi, exactly. Turkey as well. So correct. Clearly these are significant opportunities. But I picked up your point about speed. This is not something that we can wait to come to us. We have to move quickly.
You have to be ready.
Yeah. Richard, I'm just wondering whether you've got some thoughts you might want to share with us here.
Yes, well, the PPP on the international stage is very interesting. So, Mott MacDonald has been heavily involved in a lot of different countries in terms of helping governments set up PPP models. delivering or advising the procuring bodies or advising funders. And that's, we've done a lot in the UK, which is where my experience sits. But the experience, we're heavily involved in the Turkish programme, we've been involved in the Canadian programme, South Africa, etc. Effectively, wherever there's PPP, we're involved. My colleagues in the Middle East have been talking to, one of them's here tonight, Chris, have been talking to all the various, government bodies in the Middle East about what their PPP structures might look like. And, I've also presented on PPP a number of times in the Middle East and presented on PPP in China. And what's very apparent is that once you leave the UK, the structure of PPP deals looks very different. I've also been involved, we advised the Scottish Government on setting up the NPD model, and we're now technical advisor on the first Welsh healthcare project. So what's happened in the UK is that the PP model and the scope that is outsourced to the private sector has been refined over time and has lessened, and now it's very tight in terms of what gets passed over. And with that tightness, there's the risk is controlled. When you go to China, as an example, their definition of PPP is them giving you a plot of land and it effectively being a private hospital where the private operator takes all the takes all the demand risk. That's a very different proposition in terms of risk compared to an NPD model or the Welsh mutual investment model. And I think when you go to the Middle East, it's probably somewhere in the middle, but probably closer to the Chinese end of the scale than the UK end of the scale.
I think it's going to be like the Turkish
Yeah.
end of the scale. Do you think?
Exactly, yeah. So I think, again, it comes back to the point I made before. There's a huge amount of experience in the UK about doing PPP deals, but actually to export that, there is that opportunity, but we need to be wary of the risks, the greater risk exposure in these models, and really make sure that we understand that when we're putting together the consortium. And yes, we've got a huge amount to add, but we probably just need to be very cautious of the risks associated with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. Sounds like wise words there, Richard, in terms of the risk. Burkhard, I wonder if you had anything you wanted to add based on the answers that you've heard.
The only question I have, which wasn't answered, is do you think that PPP is also on the way back in the UK, or is it just contained to Scotland to a certain degree and to Wales to one project? Or do you think is this another wave of PPP projects coming in the UK?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I think there are further healthcare PPP projects coming in England. Rumour has it there's 3 very significant projects coming, probably 200 to 300 million pound capex. If your trust starts with an L, it sounds like you're probably in luck, because the 3 are Leeds, Leicester and Lancaster, so bad luck if you're in Birmingham. But yes, I think that there is. I find that whole concept of us building more hospitals in some form of a PFI model in the UK fascinating, even if we call it something different. The toxic kind of nature in the political debate about that, I'm fascinated to see how that plays out, because I think there's definitely a need, and I think the market would welcome it. I know that Andy would love it from an Equitix perspective. And I think that there are kind of different models, and I think that, we hear a lot of chat about those 3, but it's 3, it's not 30.
Andy, do you want to add something?
Well, we would love it. Kate is dead right. There is a toxic atmosphere around PFI, which we struggle to counteract. I think it's used as a political football at times. But on the wider sense, I think I would have to agree that if you're looking at creating a PPP market, it's not waiting for the opportunity to arrive. It's about trying to create the right conditions for an environment, and that means collaborating with all sorts of providers in the marketplace. And I think early engagement, don't wait till the client's got the opportunity ready, shovel ready, I think bringing consortia together years in advance. Richard's mentioned the opportunity in Wales. That's probably not coming to market till maybe early next year. We've been talking to the client body upstream and downstream to our own stakeholders for nigh on 3 years to make sure that we are ready to go.
Yeah, so in for the long haul, really.
You have to be in for the long haul.
Yeah, great. Julia, you want to comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say also, what we fail perhaps to do is look at how things, when they don't work out, are such a good environment for learning. And actually what we've done is we've actually learnt lessons from when we didn't get it right. And actually it is the projects that don't often work out that you really learn the most lessons from. And what we've done here in the UK is we've started off with a model, we made some mistakes, we've learnt from it, we've developed it, and we've improved it. And that means that actually we've been there, we've done it, and we've got the T-shirt. And that gives us a huge advantage. So yes, and should we carry on? Yes. And will we carry on making mistakes? Undoubtedly. But as long as we learn from them and as long as we improve, then you know that's the right way to do. The second thing is that when we look, and this isn't just for PFI or PPP projects, but it's quite often across the healthcare sector, what happens is the Chinas of this world, the Middle East, they come out and they have a project. They want, as they did in Saudi, they want an X thousand bedded hospital, as they did in Kuwait, which is now lying fallow. What we also have is, rather than saying, yes, we'll go with it, we have the ability, the knowledge to say, you know what, you can take this, but we wouldn't build this. We suggest you build for what you're going to need in 10 years' time, which is a completely different model of care, design it around that and do it that way. And using that expertise and knowledge that we have here, we educate and inform and help those purchasers come to a different way of thinking, and then we can build what will work.